Hello, welcome to Biology, the Science Study of Life. Bottom up and top down control. Simplified models based on relationships between adjacent trophic levels are useful for discussing how biological communities might be organized. For example, let's consider the three possible relationships between plants V for vegetation and herbivores H. Notice this. The arrows indicate that a change in the biomass total. Total mass of one trophic level causes a change in the other trophic level. V to H means, this one means the numbers or that an increase in vegetation will increase the numbers or biomass of herbivores, but not vice versa. In this situation, herbivores are limited by vegetation, but vegetation is not limited by herbivory. In contrast, V or H to V means that an increase in herbivore biomass will have an impact on vegetation, decreasing it, but not vice versa. A double-headed arrow indicates that feedback follows in both directions, with each trophic level sensitive to changes in the biomass of the other. Based on the possible interactions in our example, we can define two models of community organization: the bottom-up model and the top-down model. The V to H linkage suggests a bottom-up model, which postulates an unidirectional influence from lower to higher trophic levels. In this case, the presence or absence of mineral nutrients N controls plants V numbers, which control herbivores H numbers, which in turn control predators B numbers. The simplified bottom-up model is thus N to V, V to H to B, as shown in this figure. To change the community structure of a bottom-up community, you need to alter biomass at the lower trophic levels. For example, if we add mineral nutrients to stimulate growth of vegetation, then the higher trophic levels should also increase in biomass. If you add predators or remove predators from a bottom-up community, however, the effect will not extend down to the lower trophic levels. In contrast, that top-down model postulates that the influence moves in the opposite direction. It is mainly predation that controls community organization, because predators limit herbivores, which in turn limit plants, which in turn limit nutrients levels through their uptake of nutrients during growth and reproduction. The simplified top-down model is thus NVHP, as shown here. Notice that. And is also called the trophic cascade model. For example, in a lake community with 4 trophic levels, the top-down model predicts that removing the top carnivores will increase the abundance of primary carnivores, in turn decreasing herbivores, increasing phytoplankton, and eventually decreasing concentrations of mineral nutrients. If there were only 3 trophic levels in a lake, removing the primary carnivores would increase the herbivores and decrease the phytoplankton, causing nutrients levels to rise. The effects of any manipulation thus moves down the trophic structure as the series of positive negative effects. Many intermediate models between the bottom up and top down extremes are possible. For example, all the interactions between trophic levels may be reciprocal, as like this. Um, um, or the direction of interaction may alternate over time. For instance, one long-term experimental study of a desert shrub community in Chile showed that controls on primary predators biomass shift periodically from bottom up to top down, depending on the amount of rainfall. During, as shown this figure, during wet years triggered by the El Nino southern elicitation, top-down controls by predators and herbivores prevail in contrast during dry years. Bottom-up control by moisture limitation of plant growth is most important, despite the discovery of complex scenario such as this shifting direction of control. The simplified model discussed as discussed in this section remain valuable as a starting point for the analysis of communities. Let's look at one example where ecologists have applied these simple models to counter complex pollution problem in lakes. Pollution has degraded the freshwater lakes in many countries because many freshwater lake communities seem to be structured according to the top-down model. Um, Ecologists have a potential means of improving water quality. We can summarize the strategy called biomanipulation with a diagram. Notice that fish, zooplankton, algae, and polluted state, abundant, rare, abundant. Restored state, rare, abundant, rare. In lakes with three trophic levels, for example, removing fish should improve water quality by increasing zooplankton and thereby decreasing algal populations. In lakes with four trophic levels, adding top predators should have the same effect. Ecologists applied biomanipulation on a large scale lake in southern Finland. Lake in southern Finland is a large 110 kilometers square shallow lake that was heavily polluted with city sewage and industrial wastewater until 1976. Pollution controls then stopped these imports, and the water quality of the lake began to recover. But by 1986, massive plumes of cyanobacteria begin to occur in the lake. These plumes coincided with a very dense population of roach, a fish that had a fish that had accumulated during the years of minerals nutrient pollution input. Roach eat zooplankton, and by reducing zooplankton, they also reduced feeding on cyanobacteria and algae, which then increased in abundance. To reverse these changes, ecologists removed 1,000 tons of fish from lake in southern Finland between 1989 and 1993, reducing roach to about 20% of their former abundance. At the same time, the ecologists stocked the lake with pike perch, a predatory fish that eats roach. This added a fourth trophic level to the lake, which kept down the population of roach, the main carnivore in the lake. Biomanipulation was a success in lake in Finland. The water became clear and cyanobacteria blooms ended in 1989. The lake remains clear even though the roach removal ended in 1993. And these examples show communities vary in their relative degree of bottom up and top down control. To manage agricultural landscapes, national parks, reservoir, and marine fisheries, scientists need to understand the dynamics of each particular community.